the idea of Luthen played by Fozzie Bear?
So true.
Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to our Andor discussion this week. It's going to be about episode 10, One Way Out. My name is Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at OllieFresh. That's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is Chandriller. I hardly know her. Because that little freakazoid who is in Mon's office did say Chandrilla. He was like, Chandriller. And I was like, so true.
Hi, my name is Claudia. My pronouns are she, her, and you can find me on social media at Kaludia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. My gender this week is related to something we discussed last week, which is Chandrillan BYU student Leida Mothma confirmed, not clickbait, because it seems that she will be marrying early, much like a BYU student.
She is Provost most eligible. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I had to reference the hit television show, YouTube show, Mormon Bachelor. Do yourself a favor. Check it out. It's crazy.
I fear that she's going to be one of those people on campus who's like, why don't I have kids yet? I'm like, girl, because you're 17.
The Black Menaces are getting her ass.
Yeah, they are.
Also followed by, I just want to shout out to the listeners at BYU who reached out after that episode. Stand strong, my brothers. Stand strong.
We believe in you.
I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on social media at Kawaii Jessio. And my gender this week is Cassian and Melshi on the reverse beach from Old, because as we all know, Rogue One was filmed several years ago. So they are getting younger, actually, as the series gets to Rogue One.
No.
So true. That is the explanation. Take that, nerds.
Yeah.
The woke left.
Wait, this is how M. Night Shyamalan is directing a Star Wars movie? Question mark?
Not clickbait.
No.
Not
This
clickbait.
is how M. Night Shyamalan is canonizing Rogue One.
Leaked exclusive.
Also followed by I know you didn't mean to, but you did say like Melch at first, and so
I know. I
was like,
I caught myself. I was like, no, not
Melch?
Melch.
Okay.
Our bestie from Rebels, Melch.
Melch/Cassian.
so true. Second of all, I feel like Homegirl could have this is something I was kind of interested in this episode, and we can talk about it when we get into the discussion of this episode. Interesting that they're all human. Where was the non-human representation? Don't be shy.
I fear they may have another prison.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's giving separate but equal.
It's not good.
The girlies on TikTok were discussing this, and they were saying like, oh, they were splitting people up by their home planet, but we also know that there's like a lot of planets that are, have different kinds of races, alien races. But someone else was saying like they're probably like they put the non-human people in the even worse conditions. Like they stick the Wookiees straight into the mines. And you're like, and I guess it makes sense because like especially when they talk about Wookiees in Star Wars, they're like, oh, we take them all and we send them to certain places. It's
so
very
bad.
Well, and this prison is also based a lot on like homogeneity and using like all the same fitting cogs in the machine. They just put them all in different machines.
I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on social media at the Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is Perrin Mothma's confirmed gay experience. Because I don't know if y'all noticed at the beginning of this episode, that guy that's like Mon Mothma's banker was like, I've met your husband several times.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, no, because at first I was like, maybe they're just like, you know how guys are like Saturdays for the boys, Sundays for the boys. I don't know, but they're like, we're kind of having bro time. Like that was my first thought, is that they're just having locker room bro time. But I also think it'd be funny because he's like, oh, there's like simplicity in like there's liberation in tradition, and I'm like, so the liberation is saying, listen, we're both just married because we had to be, right? But I'm still fucking dudes on the DL.
Perrin Mothma's My Policeman era starring Harry Styles.
No, please, God.
Younger Perrin Mothma played by Harry Styles.
Harry Styles.
Stop. Oh my God. No, I'm gonna be in the pit.
I'm Perrin Mothma
For those,
I
hold
can't
on.
stop clowning on that white girl who spent $10,000 to go see Harry Styles.
What?
Wait, did you see
Yeah.
that TikTok?
I mean, I know her, but I did not realize that the story was that she spent 10,000
total because
American
I think she paid like $4,900 a piece for pit tickets for, and I cannot stress this enough, a Harry Styles concert. Babe, what
Who in
pit?
Star Wars would do that? Quickly.
I don't Perrin Mothma.
Perrin Mothma's gonna be in the pit.
No, guys.
Yeah.
So
wait,
Leida is doing that.
I was gonna say, for those who are not very
on the pit.
On TikTok, there was this girl. I think she's lying. I think she's just making this story up because she wanted to get people reacting. There's this girl. She tells this whole stupid ass story about how she supposedly paid $10,000 for a ticket to Harry Styles because of fucking Ticketmaster, and then she uses AAV, and she's like, no, I don't want to be in the balcony seats. I'm finna be in the pit. And so everyone has been taking the audio of her saying that and then talking about people literally being in the pit. Like, for example, the ball pit from DashCon, one might say. Anyway, this has been Know Your Meme with Claudia.
Thank you so much for that Know Your Meme.
So informative.
I feel like I'm learning, living, laughing, loving, learning. And also, yes, Leida does seem like the type to be the treat people with kindness, tote bag girly, and then proceeds to say something homophobic.
Wait, that's where some of Mon Mothma's money went. Her daughter is using her credit card to buy tickets.
She's gonna be in the pit.
No.
My name is Mel. I use they them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa and on TikTok at Grunkle Rex. And my gender this week is Wet Bandit Cassian Andor.
He's literally wet. He got water on him.
I mean, yeah, he did fall into the ocean.
Well, I think it's because he was sawing at that pipe.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's that toilet water.
I was thinking about when they all jump in the ocean. Sorry.
When you guys were clowning on him last episode for like, what is he gonna do with the pipe? And I knew what was gonna happen because I had seen the screeners and I was just like trying not to make fun of you guys. I was like, guys.
Listen, what if it had been the wrong pipe? What if it had just been raw sewage? What's that?
I did think about that.
Also, I also did like the scene where he's like gets covered in water and then runs out and is like on program and he's like, wow, that guy sure looks like nothing happened to him.
Well, it's a good thing he was more off to the side so they didn't really see him. It's not like he was like in front of them. He's like if they didn't, maybe they did like a double take, like, why is that guy all wet? And he just came out of the bathroom. I hope this motherfucker didn't flood the toilet.
He's like, sorry guys, I fell in the toilet.
Sorry guys, I got flushed away.
Wait,
flushed away, sorry, Cassian Andor.
They think he also has IBS. He keeps being like, oh, I'm sorry, I have a problem. They all think he has IBS, but no, he's trying to escape the prison.
The guards are like, dang, that one guy keeps shitting his guts out. Jesus. Do we want to talk about Andor?
I would love to.
This episode was incredibly depressing.
See, I feel like it was way less depressing than last week's episode because I feel like at this one I walked out. First of all, no Cyril. Claps for no Cyril.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For no Cyril.
Yeah, no Cyril, no Cyril.
I almost said Katie Cats, get your paws in the air, but well.
No.
I won't be doing that anymore.
I will say, I think Cyril Karn is a really interesting character, but I'm interested to see where his arc is going, like where he's going as a character, but he just makes me sick to my stomach. And that's a very good testament to the character that they've built and to the acting. But the fact that he wasn't there, I was like, ooh, like I felt like audibly like exhaling. I'm like, okay, I can breathe. I don't have to see him.
I just need to say, speaking of acting, Luthen Rail, Stellan Skarsgård, he took his whole acting a C.
She's taking it.
He's gonna get an Emmy for that. Because first of all, I was screaming, crying, throwing up at the end of that speech. I also think this was Beau Willimon who wrote this episode, not Tony up. Beau Willimon has been like storing up something in his soul for these years, and he was working something out in that dialogue. I was like, oh, you had something to say. My God, that had to have been his audition monologue or something for the role, because that was between that and then Andy Serkis with the I can't swim. Jesus, Emmy.
Yeah, I will say I think that Stellan Skarsgård was acting his ass off. But I think like by far the standout performance of this episode was Andy Serkis. Like every single scene he was in was electric. No pun intended. Also, I will say the other honorable mention, the 2 seconds we saw of Cinta, that was amazing acting there.
Gay people, we win again.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like everyone says the same four things, which is I like how it was shot, I like the score, I liked what happened. I think my favorite moment was when Luthen entered his Slay era. I think Luthen could really be on the way to winning an EGOT. All he needs is an Emmy, a Grammy, a Tony, and an Oscar, but I think he can get there.
He's a lot like Lin-Manuel Miranda when you think about it.
Oh, Lin-Manuel Miranda, you mean the god Hermes?
I don't want to talk about that. I will say one thing I like every scene about Luthen is I can't stop thinking about him doing a wig reveal. I'd like to think that if he ever gets like sort of caught by the Empire, which I'm guessing is sort of an inevitability at this point, I want them to be like, take him away. And then right before they cuff him, he's like, wait. And then he just sort of like throws it off. And he's like, now you can take me away. I don't want to have this wig in prison. It deserves better.
No, I agree. I think that I liked his wigless moment here, where he was at his most vulnerable with this ginger man who, guys, I think there's an emerging stereotype in Star Wars. Ginger Imperial defectors. This is our third one, guys.
Wait, what's the second one?
Oh my god.
Guys, I'm about to say something so controversial. The girls don't believe it. The girls don't believe it. Alexsandr Kallus is a ginger.
No,
I said
not.
You're right.
He's blonde.
He's blonde. Okay, no, because Kallus is the girls. I don't know if you guys saw this trend, but there was a trend on TikTok of girls who were being like, me knowing I have the rarest hair color of people who have strawberry blonde hair. That is Alexsandr Kallus. He's like, me knowing that I have the rarest hair color. Oh my god, I'm so special and unique. And everyone's like,
he's listening to Strawberry Blonde by Mitski and being like, this song's about me.
Do you guys think that
Alexsandr Kallus, like detrimentally not understanding Mitski is so important to his character? I really hope they cover it in season 2 of Andor.
Me
too.
He would play that. He'd play any given Mitski song in like the ship with Zeb and be like,
"That's our lamp."
Is my favorite.
No.
Kallus at the Mitski concert, like play "That's Our Lamp."
Oh, Kallus is me-coded in that case. Because one thing about me, I was yelling for that song. No, I'm just saying, no, because he's playing like Your Best American Girl and being like, this song's like basically about me. And Zeb is like, it's really not.
He's like, I fucking hope it's not. Claudia, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, do we think that Zeb is like the what is his people called? The
Lasat?
The Lasat. Oh my god, I'm having a moment. I'm sorry. I'm reading MDZS right now, and so I'm learning all these other new character names, and sometimes the Star Wars ones leak out. Okay. I'm getting old. Do we think that Zeb is the Lasat version of thinks that he's strawberry blonde? Like whatever that is, whatever shade of purple?
Fuck no.
No, because that's the thing. He is classically handsome and he knows it is the problem.
He knows he's sexy.
And people are like making fun of him because like, haha, you're ugly. King. And he's like, on my universe, I'm a short king and I'm
on my universe.
On my planet,
I am a Rorian Sapgar. On my planet, this is hilarious.
He is in his own world. I'm so sorry. I put him in a different universe. I forget he's a Star Wars character sometimes. He's like a brother to me.
Anyways, Andor, am I right, guys?
The prison industrial complex is so bad, isn't it?
It really
troubling.
Is.
The way that we watched that and then the midterms happened and they were like, yeah, in like 4 states, we're voting about this. And I was like, oh.
So true.
Oh boy.
Did y'all come on to Twitter this morning and see that that post from the news channel that was like, Tennessee ban slavery? It's like, okay, thank you.
The tweet of the person who was like, who had to make this graphic? Though?
No, literally. What intern is like,
I've had to work in newsrooms and do shit like that for like big headlines. And there was a whole discussion. Like, did they have to use a template? And they were like, what copy are we going to use? Like, I've been in that position.
It looked like a Dark Souls banner that's like, you die, but it's a slavery band.
Anyway, prison labor. Am I right?
Prison labor is so fucked up and evil and bad. And I think I've been thinking about this because like I love when Star Wars is like prison abolition. Because this and my homegirl.
Lorna D.
No, literally. I was like, Lorna D, she's smiling down. She's smiling up from wherever she is. Because homegirl is in hell for other unrelated crimes. But I just love when Star Wars does this because like it's just so good. It's so good, Lovey. The layers to this, the escape itself, I was like, oh shit, he's drowning out the floor. Oh fuck. I first was like, okay, so they're just gonna jump on the tables and then hope for the best.
The floor is lava, not clickbait.
Oh, literally, I was like, okay, that's an interesting plan, but go for it, I guess.
Also, no, because we watched it together, and literally when the water started coming out, I said, "Oh, are they gonna short out the floor?"
And I
guess you just ignored that.
That's not that I ignored it. I was just like, oh, I guess. But what if they just all had to stand on the table?
They use the tables as boats to float
Exactly,
out.
exactly.
This is just like the door in Titanic.
Exactly.
No.
Why didn't they save a table for Kino?
No, exactly. Why was there not a table for Kino? Also followed by, I think Ham was down on the water, holding his arms up, waiting for Kino to jump down.
That's why he went so fast, because he was like, I have to get down there now so I can get ready to catch Kino.
I was so concerned though during that whole moment when like the water was clearly flooding everywhere and they're like gonna electrocute all of them. I was just like, won't this make things worse?
No, literally, I was like, wait. I've lived in a house that has flooded and places that have like flooding, and like the first thing they say is if there's water on the floor and you have flooding in your house, don't step in it. You could get electrocuted. So I was like, wait, how is this working exactly? I'm confused, but I don't understand science, so I don't know.
About getting electrocuted when there's water on the floor?
No, about how it shorted out the floor. I think that the thing is that because the floor itself is not producing the electricity, it is being like relayed to the floor. So when the floor getting wet and then turning off like shorts it out. So it's like if you throw a hairdryer into the water, it's going to electrocute the water, but then it's going to stop working.
Also, this is completely unrelated, but I need to bring it up before I forget. Why did that one officer in the prison look like Nathan Fielder?
No, he
more importantly,
did.
Guys, it could have been Nathan Fielder.
No, it wasn't.
They do love to bring in. I mean, we can look, but they do love to bring in random comedians for cameos in Star Wars.
No,
I know
Claudia,
if it was my homegirl. I would know if it was my homegirl.
Notorious for white people facial blindness, Mel.
He is a white man that I can recognize.
Yeah.
He is a white man I can recognize.
I think both of us together, I think someone certainly would have noticed if that's who it was.
I'm the only person to make the observation. God, it was so weird that Nathan Fielder was in this episode.
I think he's just a man
doing a rehearsal. He is abolishing all prisons. He's doing a rehearsal, but it's in Andor. Love. Anyways. Go watch the rehearsal. It's so fucked up. Anyways, also just there's so many things I want to talk about this episode, but I also wanted this to be in a thoughtful way, because I will say there is one thing that I immediately clocked and I was like, oh, it's about to be so dark. And that is at the end there when they're all jumping. I was like, it's a little interesting that we're having the slaves literally jump ship. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. The racial politics of Andor are so interesting to me, but I digress.
Because I also did notice whilst watching, in that very same episode, I was like, wow, a lot of the guards are black. Like, a lot of the guards in this prison are black. And I'm like, that's just interesting. Star Wars does love to be like, we need to add some more diversity. And, like, this show is diverse. So I'm not, like, it's not quite as bad as if, like, every single character was white and then it was, like, the guards are all black or people of color. So, you know, it didn't stick out quite as much, but I was also like, interesting. Okay.
This is much like the episode where we talked about what happened to Cassian's dad and how they chose to portray that, where it was like, again, they're doing a great job. However, if it had been anybody other than mostly white guys behind the camera, maybe some of these little things wouldn't have happened, because you have that difference between race blind and race conscious casting.
Yeah,
not to say that in real life there are not black cops, black prison guards, other prison guards of color, you know, representation. We did it, Joe.
Hashtag lateral violence.
Yeah. Well, no, and also about the whole jumping into the water kind of thing. I feel like if we had a little bit more of this diversity behind the camera, and I know it's hard to talk about because like this show is really good, and there's obviously a million people who go into making a TV show, and there's Lucasfilm has a lot of other diversity behind the scenes. But like they just announced like another project in development this week, and then another project that fell out, and it was like, I want to preface this by saying development things go in and out all the time. That's very normal. But when you look at the balance of like who gets to lead a show or a movie, it's still very heavily towards white guys or white women. And then there's a woman and they're like, or it's Bryce Dallas Howard, who I love, but is a nepotism baby.
Nothing but respect for my yaddle.
Yeah, I mean, I love her very much. Rightly so. Lucasfilm has done a lot of things to further to fix a lot of the issues, but then there are moments like these where you're like, come on, man, come on, you should be doing better than this in 2022. You are leaders in the industry at this point. Like, come on.
There is something about using Black trauma as your imagery in your political show where it's like, I see that you're trying to talk about this to a group of two people who maybe are not making those connections here in the real world, but for the people who can make those connections here in the real world, oh, it's just like, ay.
And I don't know what's worse, if it's on purpose and very very tone deaf. That's not the right word. Or if it's not on purpose, and that's another kind of implicit bias of like they don't even realize what that kind of shows. I don't even know which one of those would be worse, because I think maybe in this case it might even be they didn't realize that, but I'm like, and that's why you have discussions with other people, but that's okay.
Lucasfilm's hire a sensitivity reader for your scripts challenge.
The two biggest things that I liked about this episode, one, I feel like we were talking about Andy Serkis acting a little bit, but that gentleman really can face act, which like we knew obviously from his long storied career of like being CG'd in and out of every major production ever made. But like he really gave. But the other thing about this episode that I really liked was the conversation Luthen had with Chernobyl Mustache. I don't remember his name. He's just a guy who is in the HBO series Chernobyl
Lonnie.
who has a mustache.
Lonnie Young. Lonnie Young.
Oh wow.
Speaking
that's really mean to that guy.
Or is it Jung? It might be Jung.
His name's Lonnie. Ooh, all right.
Speaking of Chernobyl, I do believe that one of the main producers of this show also worked on Chernobyl. They were like, what if we got the girlies who did Chernobyl, House of Cards, The Crown, and what's the other one?
I don't know.
What's the other one?
The Americans.
And the Americans. Thank you. Together and mixed it in a little prestige TV pot. And of course, they usually bring all the actors they worked with before. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, the thing I liked about that scene a lot, at least my favorite part of it, there were two scenes where I was like, okay, pop off. One was when Luthen was like, here's what I have sacrificed. He has that quote where he was like, I am condemned to use the tactics of my enemy to defeat them. That was such a slay moment. I actually was like, I'm gasping. That was really incredible. The other thing in that same conversation was when Lonnie was like, well, you can't, like, people can't die. Like, you have to warn them about, like, not doing this attack or they're all gonna die. And he was like, it's 50 people. Like, they are expendable. And I don't know. I just really like the fact that this show, I remember when Rogue One came out, and something I didn't like about that movie was the way it portrayed all the people who were like seeing Galen Erso as a direct threat, as like somehow meaner or more mercenary or like evil compared to like anyone else who wanted to keep him alive. And I'm like, oh, they were doing what they thought was probably best at the time. So whenever the show makes it clear that like basically your choices are do something kind of morally questionable and win a rebellion or die, the former of those choices is better, even if it's shitty. I think it's really interesting. I really like how it's portrayed, and I find it very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I feel this show does really focus on making you realize, like, oh, these are the implications of a rebellion. That doesn't mean that, like, just because the rebellion is not, like, 100% we never kill anyone, doesn't mean that it's suddenly bad or that it's suddenly morally wrong. I think it really talks about the intricacies of it in a good, interesting way, because I think your instinct is to be like, yo, Luthen, that's kind of fucked up. And then he explains it and you're like, okay, so the situation is just so fucked up in general. But it is funny, at a Star Wars Thea on Twitter did say, if you like Luthen but don't like Saw, I'm gonna start thinking a little sideways about you. And I am obsessed with that tweet. It is so true, because girlies, come on guys, the wheels are turning.
I think that's also something that Tony Gilroy or the show is asking you to think about, because I know in Rogue One and a lot of other pieces of media, they really demonize Saw, and then you're like, oh, they're all kind of on the same, almost the same level here. But also that, like, this show serves as a really good prequel in that it is thematically telegraphing the things that are to occur. Like, we have certain, like, references that keep happening. Like, this is like the third time someone has said to Cassian, like, climb or something, like, to get out. We have this speech that he gives, and he's like, well, it's a couple people that will have to sacrifice, and that is literally what happens to the Rogue One crew, even though they're really the ones who they sacrifice themselves. Everything is like, it does what a prequel should in so many good ways. And I'll say it, I think Star Wars is really good at doing prequels in general. I think, which is a hot ass take, but like of being like, you know, how do you do that? It's like poetry, it rhymes, you know, when you know what's going to happen in really beautiful ways. And again, we come back to Andor is the most Star Wars. It's more Star Wars than you think it is. Because it's like poetry, it rhymes.
I think saw something I find, at least for me, that's been like sort of helpful in thinking about him as a character, is to remind myself that Star Wars is very discontinuous. Something that I think is frustrating for me as a viewer always is like, in the hands of different creatives, the same character gets like vastly different treatments. Like, one thing that I liked about this show, and obviously Saw has been here for all of like 22 seconds. But unless I'm horribly misremembering, which is possible, he hasn't really been portrayed as like this super far out there extremist by comparison to anybody. Like, he's sort of lumped in with like all the different rebel cells, which is nice. And I also think it's like, I think a lot of times Saw Gerrera as a character gets thrown into stories that don't really know what they want to say about that. And Andor seems to have a more concrete idea of its thesis about like what it wants to talk about. Not that like other projects that have him don't have a strong central thesis, but rather that they don't know how he fits into that. And I think that's why this show for me is so much better, because they actually know what they want to use that type of messaging for.
I tend to agree. I think especially like this is the most seen in like Rebels, of like, he is not very slay in that show, because of the thing he almost does. Click clack, shout out my brother.
He does have one very slay monologue, the one I think that where he's talking directly to Mon Mothma. I think that one's written by the same guy who helped write on Rogue One. Other than that, though, mess.
I think about Rebel Saw all the time. Rebel Saw is one of those things where he'll have a moment where he's so slay, and then they'll be like, actually, what if he just decided to just kill for no reason? I'm like, so true. I love that. Now, why are we doing that? Quickly, I'd love to know. This is also another thing. Okay, I'm sorry, I know this is like off topic, but Saw in Jedi Fallen Order is so slay. Like, he is serving so hard, and he is like making moves, and Seer Jinda is like, we shouldn't trust him, and it's like, bitch, why? I love Seer too. This is not Seer hate, but it's really funny because there's a part where like Saw helps you liberate the Wookiees, right? And then he has to get out of there because the Empire starts like bearing down. It's like, if he stays there, it's gonna go to shit and he's gonna get caught, right? So he's like had to leave, and everyone's like, oh, well, Saw abandoned them. It's like, girl, what was Saw supposed to do? Was he supposed to just be like, well, guys, like, I guess I'll just get caught here? Like,
guess I live here now.
No, literally. And it's funny because Cal is basically the only one who's like, I think he's still cool. Everyone else is like,
Cal is fucking based.
Yeah, they're like, Cal, you're so optimistic and young. And Cal's like, okay, Y'all are being a little bit weird. It's a little racially motivated. Methinks. Not Seer. You can have your opinion. Not from you, Greez.
Greez.
Greez Dritus. You are not beating the allegations.
This is a side note, but I feel like on this show about Cassian Andor, we never actually talk about Cassian himself that much. And I saw a couple of TikToks, and then I saw a tweet, and it's not like I had like a specific opinion, but I thought it would be an interesting kind of discussion topic of like, some people were like, oh, I really like how Cassian, he isn't the leader himself, but inspires others to lead. And we see that thread. And I was like, do I agree with that? Or do I think in this case he was more of a leader? Because he was leading quite a lot in this. But then you also see, and you could argue it was kind of a co-leader situation with him and Jin, whatever. But I was like, that's kind of interesting. I also just wanted to take a second to like talk about Cassian himself, because I think he's also acting his ass off first of all, but also like there's some very interesting, the picture of quick radicalization happening for him.
Absolutely. And I completely agree that like it is kind of interesting how they have put him in his own show, because I think it's very intentional that he is not the one who is doing all the leading. I think also it's a great mark of a leader when you need to help someone rise up and do that. Like that is leadership in itself. # delegation squad, delegating his tasks, his revolution tasks, his checklist. And so I think that is part of it. And then I think also like Cassian, the point of his life in this narrative, the point of his life is that he is the unsung hero. He is the person who helps get the plot moving for A New Hope. And we don't know his name for literally 9 movies. We don't talk about it. We don't think about it. But he is the reason 6 of those 9 movies happen. And so I think it has to do with that. And also Cassian has tried so hard to like not make himself small, but just go through. And that's what's going to make him such a great spy when he actually joins the Rebellion in Truth.
Yeah, there's a criticism that I've seen of this show, I'd say since the beginning and somehow even since this episode, that like you could remove Cassian from the show and it would functionally remain the same. And I understand how people have gotten there, but I do fundamentally disagree. And I like what Mel was saying about like him, like # delegating. Because yeah, like, and I think a worse written show, he would have been the guy to take the mic and lead all the charges. Or like prior to getting Kino to like agree to do this in a worse written show, Cassian would have been like, who cares? We're gonna do it now. But because it's a better written show, he recognizes that Kino has the most connection and thus most authority over everybody on this floor and has the leadership power to help galvanize what is essentially like a little revolution. Like that was a really great scene. And I remember when I was watching it at first, I was like, why is he not taking this mic? And then I was like, oh, okay, because that's not what he's for. That's not like what his deal is. I like seeing him become more like galvanized against authority and like working towards becoming radicalized against the Empire. But ultimately, what works about him as a character is that like he has a really strong set of values, but ultimately is committed to like, fuck you got mine still a little bit. He had that problem on Aldhani where he was like, I'm going to do this job and I care about doing it right, but not because I care about the rebellion. I care about fuck you got mine. And I have a feeling that post prison break, we saw him running on the reverse beach from old. That like I have a feeling that we're gonna see a similar conversation of one of the other guys being like, okay, now it's the fight to the Empire, and he's gonna be like, no, I'm gonna go home now. Like I think that's where we're headed.
I think something that you touched on, and this is kind of pivoting, but not really, is Cassian also like learning to use his sense of community as a tool. Because a lot of what we see at home on Ferrix, like they have a tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. He'd borrowed a bunch of money because he knew everybody. And like everyone knew Marva, everyone knew Bix, like everyone was interconnected. When the fucked up cop guys whose names escape me showed up, they had a plan to be like, fuck you, we're we're doing things, we have ways. Seeing Cassian sort of help galvanize and inspire Kino and the rest of the prisoners to like utilize that community and utilize that sense of connection that they have was really, really powerful. And it's something that's so starkly different from how he was on Aldani, because he was very much like Noah was saying, like very much like, fuck you, I'm here for the money. So to watch Cassian learn about like how that skill, and a skill that he's had since he was like a child, that we see in like the flashbacks, like watching him learn that that is one of his most powerful assets is really fucking cool. And the way that it is handled, like in moments where especially during that speech when Kino was like, if you see someone struggling, you need to help them and keep them going and point them in the right direction. That was so fucking cool to me. Cause I was like, that is not something that you see a lot of the times in these kind of moments. It'll be like, oh, go, get out, do whatever. They won't touch on that kind of thing. And I think that was like so fucking powerful. So like this show has so many messages about uplifting your community and uplifting those around you in order to accomplish things. It's just, I love it.
Yeah. I'm about to cite some hashtag sources if you're looking to learn more about things. I think Cassian Andor has such a deep understanding, and this of course is the writers, but also just like Cassian as a character of like community cultural wealth of like, okay, this is what we've got, this is what we can do, what do we got going on the pot.
King of resource management.
Yeah, I'm like Tara Yoso is in love with you, Cassian Andor. You are sliving. You're sliving. And I think also that this entire series is such like almost like a love letter to like the idea of like emergent strategy. Yeah, Adrienne Marie Brown's emergent theory, strategy, whatever you want to call it, is so present in this show because it is about like from the very like beings of your community, the systems that you live in have so much power, and just like the working togetherness of it all is just, it's so evident in this show. And it makes me so like, this episode, I know as sad as it was to see Kino be like, happy birthday, Raven, I can't swim. It left me hopeful. It left me like feeling like, oh shit, like shit is going down for real. Luthen talking about Cassian and being like, we need more heroes or whatever the fuck he said. And it's cutting to Melshi and Cassian running away into the night. I was like, so true. Those are my homeboys.
I do believe that they went off and immediately fucked in the raw on the beach.
They were Brokeback mounting it out there. I mean,
Melshi.
one of them's gonna get Jake Gyllenhaal, but the other one's not.
I think, yeah, Cassian's getting his ass destroyed. I'm so sorry, King.
Cassian confirmed bottom?
I know it.
Confirmed.
Oh
we
God.
knew. Come on.
Oh, I was just gonna say what Mal described is another one of those like, oh, Andor is the most Star Wars, because the whole point of Star Wars is that even though it is the most depressing, fucking soul-sucking things about war, somehow it makes you still feel hopeful. It is the genre of hope punk. That is often why I quite like it, which is why I'm like, damn, that shit was effective. I also, when you're talking about how he's an effective community leader and that kind of thing, I realized in contrast, they're contrasting him to Luthen. And we talked about this in a couple earlier episodes about how Luthen, like, he doesn't really have a community that he's attached to. Although we do hear him say, I made a vow, just like Vel did, and just like Mon Mothma did. And it seems like a Chandrillan thing, which I'd love to delve more into. But you know, the difference between him and Cassian and like what's more effective, and maybe he saw that as a deficit in himself and that's why he brought him in. But I also went like, oh, this whole thing of, is Cassian a leader, or is he really good at spotting leaders or really good at spotting management, whatever? Like he's like a spoke in a wheel and a bridge between these things. And then I went, oh, he's a fulcrum. Got it.
Oh,
I just got like chills. What the fuck?
When they say that in the show, I will scream, cry, puke, and
shit
throw
my
up.
pants. I'll do it on live. I'll shit my pants. I think also this is I keep on coming back to her, but I know we don't have like enough time to truly get into it. And also, anytime we talk about race in Star Wars, it's so weird because it's like race exists here in the real world, but like to our knowledge, race does not exist in the same caste like system that it does in Star Wars. Like it's not the same. However, might I just suggest put this thought out here. Cassian Andor, a man of color, comes into these discussions, these situations where he has to rely on his own cultural capital to work out a situation. And Luthen is also doing that, but because of the ways that whiteness creates isolation and forces out own cultural identity and roots as a way to maintain power, #imperialism, #just empire things. I'm just saying perhaps there might be a connection. I don't know though. Anyways,
for Tony Gilroy and anybody else who's working on the show, Bo Wilmon, whatever, like, did you do like what? Not what are your own political leanings, but like what were you referencing things purposely, or did this just come out your brain from writing?
The girlies are learning about critical race theory. Oh no, run! Ah!
No, guys, they turned Cassian Andor into a pronoun.
Kimberly Crenshaw has emerged. She's here with us in the room.
I will say also, it is, how there isn't human race in Star Wars. However, it is still a bit odd how we are talking about things like, grassroots organizing and like, the resources of your community and stuff. And there's like no Black women in the show. It's a bit weird. Not a lot of them in any other part of the rebellion. So I'm just like,
Ray Sloan is really, she's like,
she is Candace Owens, I fear.
Oh, no.
#final thoughts. Well, as per usual, I like the episode. I keep saying that as though I'm upset by that, but really, this is the first Star Wars show in like a hot minute that I've watched every episode and gone, yeah, that was good. I liked it. Thematically, lots happened. I will say the ending, I shouldn't have giggled, but I did when Kino was like, I can't swim. I was like, oh, all right, he's staying home. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was good. Hopefully we don't see Cassian Andor getting weirdly aged in the next episode from being on that beach. That's all.
I really liked this episode. Mel said earlier, like, it left me feeling a lot more hopeful than last week's episode did. Not that last week's episode wasn't good, it was stellar, but this one is just very, like this conclusion of this arc was so satisfying. Like, it felt perfect. And I don't know, something about watching Melshi and Cassian run off, I was like, fuck yes. Like, I was screaming, I was standing up, jumping around, dying. I wasn't really doing those things, but that's how I felt.
Comac Vitus moment?
If Comac Vitus ran onto the beach. Also, guys, I think Comac Vitus was in this episode.
No, you guys joke. No, because we were watching this episode and it cut to the part where fucking the ginger bitch
Lonnie is walking around Coruscant.
And Ollie was like, oh my god, look, it was Kovac. So a man just passed by. I was like, oh my god, so true. But I was so caught off guard. I was like, wait, really? And then I was like, no, that is not correct. That I will say though, to last episode feeling not quite akin to, but a little bit emotionally, like the fallen star just leaving me harrowed. This was Midnight Horizon. This was the chaser to the shot.
No, exactly. Ooh. So true.
So I will say I watched this whole arc in rapid succession because I had screeners. So it was quite a wild and crazy experience. And like all 3 of these episodes, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, the whole time. And so like the emotional roller coaster of this at the end, I like at the end of every episode, even this last one, I was like, oh, holy shit. I remember having to like stand up and walk around and be like, the fuck just happened? I don't know, man. It's I don't know what this show is going to be like on the rewatch or like have it watching all the way through, but boy, is it fun to watch every week. Not fun in a fun way, but fun in a God, I love good television way.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I don't know, I really didn't have any legitimate notes, and you all touched on anything else I feel like I could have thought in my brain, except unlike Noah, I did not laugh at Kino saying, I can't swim. I was genuinely hurt by that because I was like, damn, this man went through all this character development and then he can't even swim. What is going to happen to him?
Did I miss Noah saying that he laughed at that?
No, he just said it.
Oh, I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't say I laughed. I said I giggled. All right. I used
Well,
two different
Big
adjectives.
difference.
Big difference.
And here's what I want to say.
He low-key nibbled.
What?
Kino kind of, there were many nibbles on
No,
this
no,
episode.
no,
We
no,
can't do
no,
this.
He kind
no,
of
no.
nibbled.
Nibble is a reference to Shane Dawson. I want everyone to know on
No,
Shane
it's 'cause-
Dawson's Snapchat story, he is constantly like, I low-key nibbled. Girl, be serious.
Why did
Do
you
you
sound
follow
like him?
Shane Dawson?
Why did you sound
No,
like
there's-
why did you sound like him? Stop.
No, there's
Oh
a
my
picture of him.
God.
It's like him doing a really terrible makeup look, and it's like horrible. And he posts like, I low-key nibbled with this one.
Hi, it's Melon Post. Just wanted to pop in and remind people, or for the first time, tell people that one of our hosts, Jess, is currently going through a little bit of a moment and is raising money to get some repairs done on their car. Linked in the show notes is their GoFundMe. And here at RuPalps, for every $1,000 raised, we're releasing fun little bonus content bloopers. And for $2,000, Ollie will be releasing a very fun video, so be on the lookout for that. If you enjoy the show and are looking for a way to support the hosts, this is a great opportunity. Thank you so much, and once again, the link to Jess's GoFundMe is in the show notes.
Now, it is time for Name That Ship. Everyone's favorite segment. Name That Ship is where one of our hosts will bring a fan fiction, read the tags, the title, the description, anything fun about it, and the other host will have to guess who the main ship is in the fan fiction. We don't do this to make fun of anyone. We do this out of love of the sport being fan fiction. I have brought one today that was sent in by winter.fet on TikTok, and that's winter with a Y, WYNTER.fet on TikTok. So thank you very much for sending this in. This one is very fun. It's general audiences, so it's a fun little romp. I'm actually like kind of obsessed with this. I think it's very fun. It is character A / character B / character C. So it is 3 people. There's also a couple other characters that are in this, like a couple other ships, but they're all like in the background mostly. So it's character A / character B / character C. Cody / Obi-Wan. Cody and character A. Obi-Wan and character B. Minor or background relationships. Padme Amidala / Anakin Skywalker. Bly / Ayla Sakura. Characters are character A, character B, character C, Cody, Obi-Wan, Padme, Anakin. Additional tags. Alternate universe soulmates. Alternate universe everybody lives, nobody dies. Mistaken identity, romantic comedy, sibling love, established relationship, developing relationship, can be read as standalone, happy ending. So you want to hear the summary? Character A and character B and character C have known that they were soulmates for a very long time when they start losing things to a person who isn't either of them. Well, isn't that interesting? Character A is trying to track down his soulmate, but everything about them is very confusing. This is like sort of like an AU in which a person will lose things and their soulmate will find them with the intention of bringing it back to them, and that being how they find each other. So that is kind of what this situation is.
Is Rex one of them?
Rex is not one of them, no. Rex is not in this to my knowledge. Or at least he's not a major character.
Is one of them a Jedi?
No.
Is one of them a clone?
Yes. Character A is a clone.
Fox?
It is Fox.
How the fuck?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
so thrilled at another
Are they
Fox
both-
pick.
wait,
Oh my god.
Are they both men or I forgot?
So
Did you-
there's 3 characters. So this is Fox and a couple where he was like, girl, what?
Are you looking for a third?
No, the 2 of them are already together, and then they're like, do we have a third soulmate?
Are they straight?
Yes.
Okay. Rio
So-
Chuchi.
No.
Wait, is this like in canon? Are they actually a couple?
Yes, they are.
And is it Anakin and Padme?
No, it is not.
Is it
Cad
Bale?
Bane and Aura
It
Singh.
is Bale and Brea /
Oh my
Fox.
God.
Why?
I'm fucking obsessed with this. Are you kidding?
Magical. Wait, I
That's-
want to join that polycule.
No, I'm obsessed with this.
I'd be there
Because I'm like,
fourth.
you know what? Fox deserves that. He needs a fucking day off. I feel like they would treat him right. I'm just saying, I love this. Thank you so much for sending it in.
That's magical. Honestly, I'd love to live with them.
That would be so fun. Imagine being like, this is my other dad, Fox. They could have saved him from getting his neck snapped by Vader in that one comic.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, Fox gets Fox shoots at Darth Vader because he thinks he's a Jedi in one of the comics, and then
Yeah,
Darth
that's
Vader
how-
does snap his neck and kill him.
Yeah, that is
Oh, God, I forgot
canonically
about
how
that.
Fox passed away.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a dark day for me when I found that out.
Yeah, that's really sad. Anyways, are you ready
Anyway, well, you know
are
what?
you-
There's only he might not he might not get his neck snapped, but he is getting his back blown out.
for? All right.
And he deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, are we ready for my fan fiction? Today I went down a little journey looking for some fan fiction, and I found something I wasn't expecting at all. Are you all ready? This is a fan fiction entitled "You Can't Go to Work," in parentheses, because I need cuddles.
Off to a strong start. All right.
So true.
Relationship, character A, character B. Additional tags: character A centric, standalone, domestic fluff, a little more poetic of a style from me, based on a Tumblr ask, lazy mornings. I can't say this this tag because it'll give it away. I guess if I had to, occupation, character B centric, space languages, Mandoa, short and sweet, romantic fluff, established relationship, implied romantic content of a physical nature.
Are they two men?
No.
Okay. So there's Mandoa. Is one of them? Is this like a fic where it's a clone speaking Mandoa?
No, it is not.
Okay. Is it anyone? Has this character appeared in live action?
Yes, both of them have.
Okay.
Din
Is one
Djarin.
of them Bo-Katan?
Neither of them are Bo-Katan.
Is it a man and a woman?
It is a man and a woman.
And it's not Din Djarin.
And it's not Din Djarin.
Is it?
Axe Woves.
It is not Axe Wolves. I wish it was
Fuck.
Axe Wolves.
Why was I like Fen Rao? He has not appeared in live action to my knowledge.
Boba Fett?
No, Boba Fett, it is not.
Is this like a? Would you
Why'd
call
you
this
say
like a
that like
main
Yoda?
character?
Boba Fett it is not.
These are both characters I would consider to be main characters of their respective narratives.
Is
Is-
this
This character Mandalorian? Or
No,
one of
not
the
neither
Mandalorian-
of them are Mandalorian.
Oh.
All
That is
right.
why I have to bring this fan fiction.
Are
Why
either of
they
them
speaking
force
Mandoa?
sensitive?
Yes, one of them is force sensitive.
Luke
A
Are they
Skywalker?
a Jedi?
Not a Jedi, not Luke Skywalker.
Is it Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It is not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan is a
Ahsoka.
Jedi.
Ahsoka,
Oh, it's
it is
a
not.
Jedi. I'm dumb.
Um.
Darth Maul.
Nope.
God damn. Who else would know Mandoa?
So is it a Jedi or,
No.
or dark side
Okay,
user?
so
Not a dark side user either.
is it
But
someone
not
who it
Ahsoka.
makes? Is it someone who makes sense that they would know
Yes,
Mandoa?
these are-
Like,
Okay, here's
Like-
the thing about that. I don't think so, but the fic justifies it. Like, I read this fan fiction just to be like, okay, what's happening here on this day? They justify it in a way that's, I think, interesting.
okay, so without reading that, it probably wouldn't be something you'd think of, but reading it in context, it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, is it Cassian Andor?
Cassian Andor is character A,
Okay,
So
slay.
the other one
Is the other
force
one Jyn
sensitive?
Erso?
not Jyn Erso.
Leia Organa.
It is Leia Organa.
Oh my
What
god.
the
Oh my god.
Okay, so true. He said, "I love my brunette white women."
No, because it's so
Age
it's so-
gap. Get out of here.
Okay, it's set, I think, after the original trilogy, so the age gap is not terrible. Basically, in this fanfiction, Leia Organa is a senator, and it's like a Sunday, and they're just like having like a lazy like day in, and then they have this really like interesting conversation about like space linguistics, and then they speak Mandoa to one another, and I'm like, how do you guys know? Like, I guess maybe Leia, because like she has like this education, this formal education that might grant her access to that. But I was like, Cassian, girl, why are you speaking Mandoa? What happened? Are you going on
Obsessed with
Duolingo?
that.
What is
Oh my
Duolingo
god, the
Mandoa.
return of Duolingo Mandoa. Thank
Isn't that girl?
God.
Isn't that the girl who did levitating?
Yeah. Yes, it is. That was
So,
magical.
yeah.
Thank you for that. I love
Of
that.
course, thank you. I was I was just looking around and I found that. I was looking down. I was trying to find Cassian Andor Melshi fan fiction, but
there is none. Okay,
there's like 4. There's 4.
Okay, y'all need to get on that.
Yeah, on it, my brothers in Christ.
Can we please get on Melshi? I really need.
I think we
Melshi.
Yeah, I think we need to have like.
I just say Melshi, not Melshi. Sounds like Marcion Rose, like little brother.
To me, I'm Marcion Rose, little brother, not clickbait.
Is your full name Melshi?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. For any updates, Star Wars news, our reactions to this phase of the High Republic, etc., follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Do you want to ask us questions? Send them to us on our TikTok Q&A or email us at RuPaul'sPodRace@gmail.com. If you really love the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps people find the show, and we really appreciate it. We always read them. May the Force be with you, and don't kriff it up.
Waka
waka.
waka.
Waka waka.